This next video deals with college football. No COVID-19. We had 2 college football games this past Thursday. And I've now seen all 3 of the games that we've had so far this season. 2 of which feature the Bears of Central Arkansas on their fantastic barnstorming tour. Last night, they faced their toughest test, obviously to this point in the season, when they faced University of Alabama Birmingham, who, as I mentioned previously, have a few pro prospects, and the most prominent being, as I mentioned also previously, Austin Watkins, who is the cousin of Sammy Watkins, and he had a good game at the office. But the standouts to me, and in my opinion, would have been really more around their defense, quite frankly, and also Spencer Brown, running back, had a great day. But I saw that defense as a whole just frankly look good. On the other side, for the Central Arkansas Bears, Robert Rochelle made one possibly game-changing play where he literally just strong-armed, like someone snatching a purse, took a ball out of the hands of the receiver, went the other way for it's not quite a strip six, I guess you'd call it. And once again, their wide receivers, both Lawan Winningham and just a true sophomore, Tyler Hudson, were the standouts on their offense. But their running game never got going. And Braylon Smith for Central Arkansas struggled. But they did manage to make it a game all the way throughout, even though they had some turnovers that really put them in a bad situation. They ended up, for those who care about this, covering the point spread and ended up falling 45-35 to UAB. And then the other game that I watched was Southern Miss versus University of South Alabama. South Alabama won its first game on the road in 3 years almost, I believe, something like that. But to me, the story of the game really was their wide receiver. Desmond Trotter played fairly well, though he also had some mistakes. He's a dual threat quarterback who has some ability, but obviously needs to improve in terms of reading defenses and judgment. But Jalen Tolbert was the story, to me, the story of that game. A guy with some size, a guy with not huge, but just a guy who's physically strong, long arms, strong hands. He looks like probably a future number 2 receiver in the NFL, but a guy who should produce in the NFL. And then on defense, Jeremiah Littles was the standout. He had a sack, he had 6 tackles, and the other sack went to, I like to call him Ginormous, but his actual name is Janarius Johnson, the nose tackle, who had a sack as well. Jack Abram looked pretty good in places, but you could see some of his limitations. He's a guy I think probably be a guy in a fight for a third quarterback job at the NFL. But yes, so we had actual football. And in terms of the point spread, I believe it was an upset. I believe that South Alabama was not expected to win. So if you bet on them, you collect your winnings. But they won 32-21. So we're sort of wrapping up at least the first 3 games of the season. More on games as they happen.